having a crack. Tom and Jack having a crack. Tom and Jack having a crack.
Welcome to Tom and Jack having the crack. Every week we sit down with a new comic, have some crack. Jack's not here this week. He's away in Dublin being a superstar doing some gigs. So we've got the wonderful Arangi with us here from Amsterdam. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing good. Yeah.
Yeah?
Great to be here in London. Yeah.
When did you get in?
I got in last night. Yeah. Came here for a super surprise gig that we're doing tomorrow.
That's right, we are. We're doing the first edition of British Indian Buddies
Yes. Yeah.
tomorrow at Betsy Trotswood, which I think by the time this comes out, it will have been a huge success already.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm sure.
We're close to selling out. So.
That was the face of a man who's good at hustling. It'll be a success.
Yes. It's not like I have 100 flyers with me right now.
No. I've got an idea for that afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go get rid of some of those bad boys.
Nice.
So when we have Comic Con, we just have a little chat to them about like what they've been up to, what they've been doing. But you've got such a great story for how you started stand up. So for people who have never met you before, never seen you, one of your hilarious clips, what's your journey been into getting into comedy?
So I'm not supposed to be here. Let's start off by saying that.
Have you been speaking to my dad?
So yeah, my comedy journey started first of all as a fan. For the longest time, I was just a comedy fan. I was a kid in India, Southeast India. I come from a very small town, just about 500,000 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in our town, like we didn't have like the traditional American media or something like that. It would often be that one kid who somehow sneaks out, or their parents, they go to vacation to the US and they come back and bring some American culture to us.
Yeah.
And that was the time when one of my older friends came back with sort of a list of recommendations on what we should be watching and what we should catch up. And one of the things he introduced me to was Conan O'Brien's late night show. I was just hearing to this guy being so silly, self-deprecating, it's okay to make fun of yourself kind of thing that I've never seen before.
So you've always been attracted to funny gingers. That's good.
I think that explains.
Yeah.
You're like my therapist now, linking everything back to my childhood. And you definitely look just like Conan, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Same height.
Especially the height.
Yeah, especially the height. Yeah. So you start watching Conan, and then...
Yeah, I started watching Conan, but nothing too special in the fact that I never thought I would even do the same profession or even aim to do something like that. But somehow life happens, and I end up moving to the US. I moved to a place in Oklahoma, of all places. And that was when I was so far away from home that comedy was the only outlet that could sort of give me the cheer, because if you're the only brown guy in a small town in Oklahoma, you don't have a lot of things going your way.
Yeah.
And comedy was, like people said, therapy. In my case, it was just my companion.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, my obsession with comedy meant that I would end up moving to New York and start living there for my day job.
Because didn't we figure out we were like a year apart? Or we
In the same time.
same time, yeah. So we've probably been on an open mic together and just not
known yet.
Not seeing each other, yeah. So, but what was the first time you got up on stage in Oklahoma?
In Oklahoma, I never got on stage.
You never got on stage there?
I mean, I did get on stage a little bit because there was like a student farewell that we had to do when we were leaving Oklahoma in my final year.
Mm-hmm.
And they nominated me, of course, because I was the nerdiest guy in the school. Like, I have the right grades and everything. So they asked me to go and talk about how I sort of conquered Oklahoma. An Indian guy conquering Oklahoma sounds pretty good. Not the kind of Indian you would have hoped, but okay.
That was a big part of how the state was founded, I think.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like, they expected me to give like a very serious speech on like, these are all the things you need to do to get to the next level. But I was like, I felt like a hack. I was like, if I was going to do that, none of my journey was like as obvious as it should be. So I just did a stand-up routine.
But did you think of it as stand-up, or did you think of it?
I thought of it as stand-up, but I never told any of them that you can expect some laughs. And I just wanted to check like how it works. Because I was deliberating for a long time by then already that.
So I think a lot of comics have a version. Roman, I don't know if you have a similar thing. I remember doing this is like 12 years before I ever did stand up. Did my brother's 21st birthday speech.
Yeah.
And I approached that like a set.
Exactly.
And I did it like a
That's
set.
basically what I
But I
did.
don't think I told anybody I was going to do it like
No.
that.
Yeah.
I just did the speech. But looking back, I definitely structured it like
Like a set. Yeah.
a set when it like ended on a callback and
Exactly.
yeah, Ro, like do you have any?
I think I just structured my whole life like that. I think that's pretty much what it was. It wasn't really a speech or an occasion.
My life is a movie.
It was just more a case of, this is my life, and that's exactly how I'm going to live it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's a level of self-confidence I'll never know. I was like, I need specific occasions and permissions to do this. So you moved to New York because you wanted to do stand-up, or because like that was a happy
It was
accident?
a bit of lot of things coming together. I was watching this show called Master of None by Aziz Ansari,
Yeah, love it.
who exactly I look like, of course, if he let himself go after the scandal that happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was a big fan of that show, and just being able to see a brown guy live like a white person, that kind of was like, okay, I
Yeah.
kind of feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was like a coming of age of different things. And I got a day job that would let me do my usual things. I work in the sports industry, and I got a job that I could work in New York, and then I could gig in the night. But I would say, to be honest, I really became a comic once I moved to Europe. I truly found myself, I would say, the second coming of myself as a comic in Europe once I moved to Amsterdam. And I realized that in some ways, Netherlands can be more racist than Oklahoma. I was like, this is this is bonkers. But at the same time, I was like, okay.
What ways are they more racist?
Because they're not aware. Like
Yeah,
in
that's-
Oklahoma, they're
that's
very
what-
self-aware. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, it's like both of us are in on the joke that,
Yeah.
I know you're going to be racist today. And, I'm going to get, something on me. But in Europe, it's not like that. In Europe, they're like, I'm the most well-educated person. I already know how the world works. America is synonymous with racism, not here. And that I would see a lot of that in like the Dutch circles that I was around. And I was like, at some point it was like a Groundhog Day of
Yeah.
back-to-back few little quirks that the Dutch people were doing. I was like, I've had enough of this. And then I got on stage. I would say that's my actual,
That was your impetus to get on stage.
impetus to get on stage.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us have like and again, Roman's gonna be like, nah, absolutely not. I was just killing it, and then thought I'd kill it on stage.
Yeah.
I have it wasn't the same, but I have a really bad breakup, and I was basically like having panic attacks from work, and that was the thing that got me on stage. Because I was like, if I don't know if I've told you this.
You have to express yourself.
Yeah, like I was on the floor of my apartment in New York having a panic attack, and I thought like if I die alone in a 1-bedroom apartment, it's gonna be, like so sad. And I remember ringing my brother, who's back in England, and he's like, "You just need something creative that's just yours."
Exactly.
Because advertising's my day job, so I think I'd always try to make that my creative outlet.
Yeah.
And it's not enough.
Yeah.
And the thing with comedy that's so wonderful is I think whether you're shit or not, at least it's just you.
It's you, yeah.
And it's just like there's no
Standing
other
up for yourself.
Standing up for yourself. And I think that's a very loaded phrase, especially from the way you just way you just described your journey in, like being able to have voice and agency. It's quite
definitely. Yeah. And I would also say like for me, stand-up wasn't something I got on stage thinking I was going to be good at it.
Yeah.
It was just the only thing I knew that would let me do what I wanted to say, which was I wanted to speak up. I wanted to speak up about some of the issues that were happening.
Yeah.
But I did not find a way. Because if I go on a social media portal and just express myself, people will think I'm just, complaining without having any solution in mind. And I'm not smart enough to come up with solutions.
I was going to say they'll think you're a Russian bot, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may be. You never know.
This entire podcast is a figment of Roman's imagination.
My imagination.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like having that voice thing is such a it's an amazing thing.
I can also get into it a little bit on like how I ended up on a stage in Amsterdam, because once I moved to Europe, I didn't really want to do stand-up. I thought those days are past me. Like if you were to be a stand-up, you should only be in New York. If you're not in New York, you're not really a stand-up. That's the sort of the romanticized comedy fan in me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But I end up going to there was one particular incident in Amsterdam that really led me onto the stage, which was a comedy of errors, but also some blunders. So I was at a Amsterdam convenience store. I'm not sure if I can name them and call them out because they're like a not a national brand, but kind of multinational brand in Amsterdam.
You can name them. They can come to us. It's been great publicity.
Or what is it? What does it rhyme with? What do they rhyme? What does it rhyme with?
Yeah.
It's a Dutch name. It doesn't really rhyme with anything.
Oh, so it's a Dutch name, so it rhymes with
Dutch name.
Vleugelstadel.
Yeah, exactly.
It rhymes with clog windmill.
Oh, that famous brand. Everyone knows about them.
That's why I imagine like the Dutch version of Marks and Spencer's is just clogs and windmills. Clogs and windmills.
Something like that.
Yeah,
something like that. But it's more like a Target for the Netherlands, you could say.
Okay.
Yeah, all my Dutch people are looking at like, this guy's calling them out. But I have to speak up at some point, right? So I was at that store one day, and of course, I'm an immigrant guy. I don't like to go meet someone for checkout. I do self-checkout.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any level of intimacy, because sometimes Dutch people or even white people in general are too nice when you're checking out.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation I have, sometimes I know they don't really mean it, and somehow I feel uncomfortable by intimacy. So I thought, I'm just going to go talk to a robot. So I was just checking out what I need to buy. And of course, the immigrant guilt in me is like, did I check this out? Let me just scan again. Let me just scan again. Sometimes I would just do that. You know what? I might pay a lot more money, but at least they won't accuse me of stealing, right?
Yeah.
So I just get the stuff, check out, scan my code, everything's great. I get on the escalator. Right when I was about to leave, I feel like someone's dragging my bag from the back. I was like, what's going on? I look back and I see it's the security guard. He's a tall Dutch guy. And he's like, we need to inspect your bag. Like, I'm a bit suspicious. I was like, what? I just scanned everything like 5 times, dude. I paid way more than I should be paying. He's like, no, I need to check it out. He takes me down the other escalator, and the whole shop is just looking at us like, oh, look at this guy. He must have stolen something. What did he steal? Like,
Yeah.
And most of the stuff that I bought were like spices. I will never steal spices. I would never do that.
Wait, to fight back against the
Yeah.
stereotypes.
I have like saffron, cardamom, cinnamon. I wouldn't steal that.
You don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Klaus.
I shouldn't be paying for this in the first place. Okay?
If anything, I need reparations back on all this shit.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm the only one using them in my food in the Netherlands. So
Like, why
give me some credit.
why did you guys keep coming to my country and stealing all this shit? You don't use any of it.
So anyways, he takes me there, and I kind of call him out and say like, are you trying to be racist? And he gives me the most like white response. He's like, no, I'm just trying to be careful. I would never be racist.
That's a funny, sorry to interrupt you, that's a funny way of phrasing it. Are you trying to be racist?
Yeah.
It's like, am I doing it right?
I didn't want
Okay,
to.
you're
I didn't want to say it if he's going to sue me. So I was like, "Are you trying to be racist?"
Yeah.
In a very cute way. But the guy was like, "No, I'm just trying to be careful." He puts everything there on the racist table because he starts scanning everything, and then next thing you know, he's like, "Oh, okay," and he's just about to leave. I was like, "Bro, you can't just do that to me. You didn't even say sorry." He's like, "Oh, am I supposed to say sorry? Okay, I'm gonna say sorry. I was just doing my job." I was like, "Okay." I guess there was a misunderstanding. I pack everything. I'm about to leave. And that's when I hear him yelling at someone else. I was like, wait, I'm going to look back. And he's yelling at an older Muslim lady because she finished her checkout. She was about to get on the escalator. But he's like, hey, lady, I need to check your bag. I was like, dude, this can't be real. Like, what am I watching? This is like the 1960s or what's going on? So I go up back to the guy and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do, but I'm just going to unleash my inner Karen. So I was like, okay, then. Can I speak to your manager?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, sure, you can speak to my manager. We go to the manager, and she was like the most, the white woman that has everything together in her life. She's figured it out. So she looks at me, she's like, you shouldn't be worried about this. I'm going to fix it for you right away. I was like, oh, is she going to fire this guy? I don't want it to go that far. And she starts typing on her computer, and she starts looking at me like, you're going to like this. I was like, what is she going to do? She starts typing a bit more, print something, sign something, and gives me a card. I was like, what is this? Is this like a reparations card? Like, is it going to solve everything? And she tells me, I think this will take care of everything. I was like, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
I look at it, and it says 240 euros.
240 euros.
It was a gift card. And the first thought that occurred to me was, why was it not 250?
Yeah.
How did you decide it was 240? That's so precise that you equated racism with 240 euros.
And if you have to do it in increments of 20, do it to 260. Like go over the 250.
Yeah.
Don't jip me on
Don't be so cheap.
don't jip me on the 10. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the time when I first laughed out about something that was really sad that happened to me and someone that looks like my mom.
Yeah.
And I just laughed out loud. I was like, oh, this can actually be funny. And that's when I figured out like this could be the version of me
Yeah.
doing stand-up and bringing light to issues that are happening. But I also talk at it from an authentic standpoint. So that I would say is like the origin story of the comic that I am right now.
Yeah, and it's from such a simple, everyday.
Yeah.
But it's so real. It's like I was in Brooklyn last week, and I was an idiot. I didn't bring enough underwear, so I had to go to H&M and get some pants and t-shirts and stuff. And my bag was beeping on the way out, and the dude was just like, "Go ahead."
No way.
He's like, "Go ahead, it's fine." Because like when you like Conan O'Brien's stepchild,
Right.
they're just like, "You're fine." Buddy.
Was this Williamsburg or?
No, this
what are we
was
talking about?
downtown Brooklyn.
Downtown Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah, so it's
okay.
Fulton Street. So it was pretty. So I'd actually a funny thing. So like, I went out to get coffee one day. And when was the last time you were in New York?
2019.
So it's got pretty aggro since the pandemic. Pretty aggro. Like,
I can imagine.
yeah. And I was down near Fulton Street, and a homeless guy came up to me, called me a pussy. He's like, "You pussy," and then just kicked me in the shin,
Yeah.
and then ran away. And I was like, if you'd have stuck around, you would have realised I am a giant pussy. I would have done absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, call me San Diego. I'm a whale's vagina. I'm a giant pussy.
Whoa.
Yeah, but it was an interesting, because I sometimes think in those situations, like if I saw me wandering around in my little corduroy jacket,
Right.
I'd want to mug me. like
The easiest guy to get
100%.
on. Yeah.
Like Bill Burr describes it as like howdy doody face.
Yeah.
Like you have like, oh golly face, and I definitely have that 100%.
Wow,
I
yeah.
think if anybody on the street looks at me, they're like, yeah, this like, we could take him. we could 100% take him.
Yeah.
Do you miss doing stand up in New York?
Yeah, I mean, I was only like an open micer back when I was still in New York. I wouldn't call myself a full-time comic anyway, but yeah, that's the place where I want to go. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do right now. Like,
Yeah.
make some waves in Europe so people in New York hear it, and then they're like,
Yeah.
"Who's this Indian guy? Can we have him there?" But yeah, definitely, I would love to go back and do it for real.
Because I told you I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
I mean,
I was looking at your gigs. You were doing like the Stand, the Cellar, the New York Comedy Club in the same day. That was crazy.
yeah, doing the Comedy Cellar and New York Comedy Club on the same day was pretty great.
Wow.
That was
Yeah,
pretty great.
Yeah.
Because I'd been to the Cellar that week to watch a show, and
Yeah.
then I got a phone call from a friend who said, "There's a gap on this produced show, and
Wow.
do you want to come do it?"
Do it. Yeah.
And I was
Why
like,
not?
"Great."
Yeah.
And at first she was like, "Oh, I might just need you for 5." And then I got there and they're like, "Could you do like 15?"
Whoa.
And I was
okay.
like, "Yes,
Why not?
absolutely 100%."
Nice.
And it was great, and I got a nice tape out of it, and they're like, "You can come back and do it again." And
Wow.
Can we hear your American accent one more time?
yeah, which one, mate? There's a gamut. So I did a few. I did a few shows in different places. So I did some shows in LA, and then Carolina.
Yeah.
Carolina was great because when I got up on stage there, they were like, "Wait, what? What's coming out of your mouth right now?" Because I think I saw the Queen once on my television. I don't think I ever met a British. Am I saying it right? British?
Wow.
Is that how you say it? Like we did an outdoor brewery.
Right.
I thought it was gonna be a hell gig. I thought it was gonna be horrible. But the two comics before me had struggled a little bit, and then I got on. I think just purely by virtue of the fact that they were like, "What is this accent?"
Right.
Everyone like engaged, and then it was like one of the nicest gigs I think I've ever done.
Wow.
It was absolutely fantastic.
An outdoor show in like fall? That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, it's pretty warm there still.
Okay.
And then I did a club in Greensboro called the Idiot Box. Majority black audience.
Nice.
One of the best gigs I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah.
Just absolutely.
And were you the only white guy on the lineup?
one of the only white guys
Oh,
on the
that's
lineup.
great,
Yeah.
that's great.
It was, and it reminded me, because I used to do some rooms like that in New York.
Yeah.
And it really it teaches you a lot, I think.
Yes.
It teaches you a lot about like how some of your references work. It teaches you a lot about like there's different ways of connecting with different groups. Like in England, like a Northern English crowd would be very different from like a posh London crowd, for example.
Right.
You'd have to connect with them differently. So like just playing different rooms, different. But it was funny because I had a joke I was doing about the royal family.
Yeah.
About Prince Philip dying.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that one on Instagram.
I don't think
like,
I've seen it.
It was I was basically said that like the Queen dying was the cherry on top of a cake for like a rough few years for the royal family.
Yeah.
And it all started with Prince Philip dying.
Yeah.
And he died on the same day as the rapper DMX.
Okay.
It's just two guys locked in a lifelong battle for who could say the N-word most in one lifetime. And in Carolina, that fucking killed.
Okay.
All these guys were like, yeah, fuck that guy. That guy. And I was like, yeah, he kind of looks like boring Dracula. I'm like, yeah, he does. Fuck that guy. That guy's like, what? But I did the same joke in Brooklyn at the Tiny Cupboard, which is a super. It's in like bed. It's in the gentrified bit of Bed-Stuy.
Right. Right.
So it's a super liberally place. Did the exact same bit, and these people like, as one girl literally went, "I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. Okay.
I don't know about that." And I was like, "Wait, do you think he didn't say it? Because I'm here to tell you, he definitely said it."
Yeah.
It's like,
Whoa,
who are you defending in this bitch? She's like, I'm not sure. I just don't like it.
I just don't know.
So
It's crazy that when like how jokes travel, like and how they work in some places and not others. But you know, it's the mystery of it all.
have you ever had that where you've had like a bit that in certain rooms is like crushed and then
Well, massively, man. Like even just what you were saying about playing like a black room, right? I've played black rooms before, and like died on my ass, and then I'll go like to the middle of England,
Yeah.
and have a great gig.
No,
and
absolutely.
and it's amazing. It's amazing how that can happen. But it's it's comedy, man.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how you in your situation. I mean, I remember the first time I did one in it was Harlem, pretty much Harlem, West Side Comedy Lounge in New York, and I tried, in as much as I can ever,
Right.
I tried to be cool. So I just tried to be like, I didn't change my material, but my attitude was like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" You know, I don't know. I just tried to have a bit of flavor to me.
Keeping up with the times.
And it understandably died horribly.
No, yeah.
And they were like,
Because that's not you. That's
because it
not
isn't me. And they were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
The second time I went up, I was like, "Hello, how's it going?" They're like, Harry Potter's crazy. Look at this Dumbledore fuck. Which is the right way to do it, because like that's me. That's who I am. And it was same in the Greensboro gig. They were just like, the more you're used. I think. So I watched a few comics at the Cellar. It was Jay Jordan, who I think is fantastic. Ian Fidance. Brian Scott McFadden and Ryan Hamilton and Sarah Talmash. And the one thing I took away from all of them is just like how they were and Nathan McIntosh, they're all in tune with how they are funny.
Exactly.
I feel like, I don't know if you think that, Roman, as well, like when you see pros crush, there's a lot of technique obviously and stuff, but I think a big chunk of it is just like they know why they're funny.
Yeah, they have self-awareness. Yeah.
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 And they can tap into that thing, that emotional vein that almost, not that it doesn't matter what they say, but it almost doesn't matter what they say.
Right. You don't see the surprise in their faces when they're getting big laughs. Because sometimes when I say some things and people are laughing more than I expect, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know I was funny that way. But you find out,
You find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it is a voyage of discovery in that sense. I think in some ways I'm still trying to figure out how I'm funny.
Right.
I know I can write and say funny things,
Exactly.
but figuring out how I am funny, that's still a discovery. That's still a voyage of discovery at the moment.
Oh,
you know,
for sure. I mean, I think some people say like it takes. I guess that's what they say when they say finding your voice, right?
Right.
And I think it takes years, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I feel like I've started to scratch the surface of something with like this like being befuddled,
Oh, okay.
because I think it helps you if you write, because you know, like I like to write like sort of like wordplay things. And I think if you're clever, if you're doing clever quote unquote wordy things, whatever, but if you deliver it like you think it's clever,
What do you think? Yeah.
then people are like, okay, I'm glad for you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you think it's clever.
Right.
Whereas if you can deliver it from the stance of like, well, why is that like this? I remember listening to Mark Norman, and he was like, the day he figured out that his whole act was, well, if this is like that, why isn't that?
Why isn't that like that? Yeah. I've heard that.
And that was like his whole act. I think the day you can get it down to something as
One line. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I have that one line, brown guy shitting on white people, but doesn't seem to be working.
That's going to be the pitch for tomorrow.
Yeah.
100%. I can just appear from behind a lamppost like, he will.
He will.
It's true, he does. And I'll be there also.
Maybe that could be the angle when you're handing out these flyers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we did Edinburgh together.
Yeah.
And that was my pitch. Like, I would say all kinds of outrageous things just to get the festival goers, like, excited. And I would say, one of the lines I would say was that. And they would just look at me like, wait, are you seriously going to shit on us? I was like,
Yeah.
you best bet I will. And I would give them the
Well,
flag.
you had an amazing Edinburgh. So one of the things happened to you is you met Anthony DeVito.
Yes.
And then you've ended up opening for him in
Yes.
Amsterdam?
And I also co-produced a show with him in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. I literally saw his show, and that night I met him, which was like, I never expect to meet someone whom I look up to so easily. But Edinburgh is Edinburgh.
Yep.
Like, it's so close yet so far, so you think you're part of the
Yeah.
cool crowd now.
Yeah.
And I meet Anthony and I say, like, you literally changed my life. And he's like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, the way you talked about pain, I wish I had that level of funny to find the funny in something so traumatic for you. And he's like, that's the nicest thing someone's ever told me. I hope I will see you again. And somehow serendipitously, he ends up thinking about coming to Amsterdam, and then I connect with the friend who's bringing him to Amsterdam, and now I'm working with him and sharing some notes. Like, he's a great guy to work with, but that's the magic of the Fringe. Like, you never know what's going to come out of it. Yeah.
Oh, totally. So is he sort of staying in Amsterdam for a little bit? Or?
No, he was there for like a week after the Fringe, and
Right.
we did a bunch of shows, and then now he's gone back to the
To
good old
New
New York.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels like when I was back there, you do feel like you're tapping into a certain kind of magic that maybe it's because, like, if you are English, like we are, maybe London doesn't have the same buzz for you, maybe potentially. But, like, yeah, being back in that city, you are reminded that, like, this is where stand-up was invented, and you can't really get away from the fact that it has a different energy and a different vibe, and hopping on the subway and doing multiple shows in a night is a magical experience. It's so fun.
Yeah. And then the fact that in that city, there's so many options, and there's people going for any kind of option, you know, like you could go to the Cellar, but there's also people going to shows, like alt comedy shows in Williamsburg, which is beautiful for me. Like, when you have so many options, there's still a crowd for every option. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
you don't find that so much.
I think it helps because the way New York runs their shows is getting, well, whatever, it's a comedy podcast, but, like, the standard British show is 2.5 hours.
Yep.
4 acts, host, an opener, a middle, a closer, 2 breaks. So it's the whole night. So if you decide you're going to the Comedy Store or Top Secret, that's your whole night pretty much.
Pretty much.
New York show could be like an hour, 90 minutes.
Right.
You can do that and do something else. Or you can have done something else and then go and do that.
True.
I think that also helps with the vibrancy of that scene.
Yeah.
Because people aren't locked in, or like they don't feel like they're not pot committed.
Yeah. And I also find it interesting that they're able to charge a good amount. Even if you're a smaller show, you could charge like $25 and you require 2 minimum drinks, people show up. Like, if I try to do that in Amsterdam, people will just laugh at me like, that's cute.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Do people not pay ticket prices in Amsterdam?
I mean, I would say €10 is already a good price. And there's people right now trying to push the boundary. But Europe, we still have that culture of stand-up. English stand-up is like the second preference, at least in a city like Amsterdam where there's Dutch stand-up already. And we're sort of the smaller guys, but yeah. But I think it's a small and growing scene, definitely.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, just if I may, do you speak Dutch?
I don't speak Dutch. I've only been there for 2.5 years, so didn't really get around to that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And also, like, English in Amsterdam is...
That's the problem, yeah. It's the boon and a bane that no one, even when I have a mask on, like, looking at my skin tone, people are just going to go for English 99% of the time, and they wouldn't even let you struggle with Dutch. So, it makes it really hard to try to learn the language.
I just like wear a monocle and carry a little British flag. I love that. I tell you, speaking of masks, that was fucking wild in America. Like, they are so masky.
Oh,
still.
even now? Okay.
Dude.
Wow. Okay.
And it's like LA, I expected it. Carolina was, because like Durham, where I was, and Greensboro, that college towns.
They're college towns. Yeah.
So because they're like little liberal epicenters,
Right.
I think in a way they push back harder against the rest of the
Okay.
state. Like, there's still shops there saying no mask, no entry.
Yeah.
And like, and in New York, I would say 60% of people on the subway still wearing masks.
In that subway, I would wear a mask. It's pretty nasty.
It's pretty nasty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw a couple of things I hadn't seen before this time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
What was it?
Saw a guy taking a shit just in the subway. Just
Okay. I used to see that every
taking
day.
a shit?
So, okay.
Really?
I mean, I would see all kinds of
I saw
horrible
the
things
after effects
on
of
the
it.
subway.
I saw like guys with shit on them. But I never saw a guy just like
Wow.
dropping a deuce
Wow. Okay.
there and then.
Yeah.
That was pretty
New York
impressive.
is back.
Yeah, New York is back. Yeah.
And that's kind of in line with the marketing for your show, isn't it? The split bill that the two of you lot are doing, taking shits on people.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's it. In fact, I filmed that guy. He's done a promo for us. You'll see it. You'll see it at the end of the show. It's a bit garbled. His promo is just. You'll see it at the end of the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was the second thing?
Just a female. I've never seen a female homeless person start a fight on a
Oh,
Subway.
That's progress.
before. Yeah, exactly.
Go for
Equality. Yeah, it's equality. yeah, 100%.
And how was it in the city? Like, are people back to doing active things or?
Kind of. I think because COVID was so politicized there.
Right.
I mean, it was politicized here, I think, as well, but not to the extent it was there.
Yeah.
So people are still wearing masks and Purelling and stuff. I think
Wow.
almost as a political statement. That,
Okay.
You know, like, the pandemic isn't over, you guys. You know, like,
Okay.
actually, there's quite a lot of that
Yeah.
still. I also think the fact people didn't go back to the office is a big deal. So, like, even when you get
They're
on
still remotely working.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like none of the things that will force you to get back into day-to-day life, I guess,
Yeah.
are as prevalent as they have been here, which is interesting. I mean, the city feels busy, but not like busy the way I remember it.
Wow.
It still feels more spread out
Yeah.
and more calm than like when I was living there. I remember, there's some, you remember,
Yes,
like
yeah.
some days in Manhattan where
Yeah.
you're like,
It was just the whole world was on the streets. It was the
Yeah.
most beautiful thing. Yeah.
well, do you know what I've always thought? Because I've never been to any Indian cities, but I've been to like some Vietnamese and Chinese cities. I always thought New York had way more in common with an Asian city than
Yeah,
London.
No, definitely. If I go to like Delhi or Mumbai and I'm out and about in the markets, that's how I would feel like in West Village, for example, on like when they would have like these celebrations, like different celebrations, whether it's even just for like a holiday for Christmas, how New York gets ready. Yeah, it's much closer to highly populated cities
Yeah.
in Asia, definitely.
Yeah, I was there last Christmas, or not Christmas, but the week leading up to it. That was when the Rockefeller tree set on fire.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It was like the perfect metaphor for the city at that time. Just
Yeah.
this giant icon of New York is on fire, and people just walking past it. 'Cause it's like no one stops. They're
No one stopped.
like, oh yeah, give a big goddamn tree on fire. Okay. Yeah, nice.
Some people might live in New York their entire life, probably never been to Manhattan. That's also a thing that you could notice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are some guys in like Staten Island. I went to Staten Island for a gig once, and I was talking to people there, and they're like, "You came from Manhattan? Like, how is it like in Manhattan?" I'm like, "You're from New York. You should know how Manhattan is."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I went there like 3 years ago, and yeah, they just live in their little pockets sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I remember like reading Woody Allen's book. He was like, he had family members in Brooklyn who their whole life never went to Manhattan.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because it's just, I mean, yeah, it's such a magnetic place. One thing I did want to chat to you about was, well, actually, no, before we get on to that, what's the rest of Europe saying about Liz Truss at the minute?
People are just
what's the vibe?
doing lettuce memes right now. Lettuce is the
Did you guys see the Daily Star? Did you see the Daily Star cover? Because they're the ones who did the lettuce.
Yeah.
Their headline was "Let us rejoice," which mean it's
Yeah.
a shitty newspaper, but someone needs an award for that. That is,
for sure, absolutely.
that is sensational journalism.
Yeah.
So lettuce memes and what else?
I think at least the way the Dutch media that I've just been checking out this morning, how they look at it is like everybody's just in fascination as we're looking at a circus.
Yeah.
And the movie's not over, kind of thing. You know, they're like, oh, this is just the first straw that we've seen, but maybe there's even more coming. So people are just fascinated looking.
Yeah.
And people in India are, oh my God, that's next level of madness, they're like, oh, finally the Indian guy is gonna get it. And I am like torn, like, okay, he's Indian, but I don't know. He's the kind of Indian I would like to see there. So that's why I came here actually to fix the problem. So
I think you say I'm running. Well, that's what we can do with flyering this afternoon.
oh yeah.
Ram is running against Rishi. If you want to support him, come to the show tomorrow.
Yeah, that was going to be my opener tomorrow. It's like, I know what you guys are thinking. Rishi has really let himself go after finding out Liz has dropped out.
That'll kill.
Yeah.
That'll kill.
Yeah. So I'm finding out from both parts of the world, but most of the time people are just not really surprised, if I can say so.
Yeah.
Like then, I thought they would be more surprised, but most of the people are like, oh yeah, we could see that coming.
I think that's the most damning thing.
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
that people expect that from us.
They just wrote you off. Yeah.
I think, because I think, are you Gen Z technically?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 25.
You're 25. Roman, are you?
Oh, I'm whatever generation you are, I'm the same.
Okay.
I don't really know the generation thing, but I know we're about the same age.
Because like for millennials, I think this is just a never-ending parade of bullshit that our adult life. I mean, we haven't had a war. We haven't been conscripted to fight anywhere. We haven't, that's my ex. I was about to say we haven't had any big diseases, but and like this is. I think there was like 7 recessions in the whole of the 20th century.
Wow. Yeah.
And this is going to be like the 4th
Yes.
in 12 years, which I think I said to my dad because he was like, my dad's a big Tory,
Okay.
and he was like, it's very sad what the media's done to Liz.
Yeah.
Very sad. And I was like, kind of, but she's also that's a fuck up on a monumental scale.
Yeah.
that-
What did you expect
what
was
did you?
going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess sure you could have kept her in,
Yeah.
but she should have been limping from now until the general election.
Oh,
So-
absolutely.
and also, it wasn't the media; it was her own party didn't want her in anymore. So it doesn't matter what the media says if your own party doesn't want. Anyway, but I think for people my age, I was saying to him like, I don't know if I can ever vote again. Really?
Yeah. You're jaded.
Yeah, not out of any sense of like as a protest.
No.
Just out of like whatever Walmart, Apple, Google want is going to
It's gonna
happen.
happen. Yeah.
So we can all play and dance around.
Yeah. Does it really have a consequence? Yeah.
Yeah, does it really have a consequence?
Yeah.
Like, what is China up to? Can we enlist?
Yeah. And I also feel like these guys are all on the same Zoom call.
Yes.
And they just keep popping out saying things that this is happening in the world right now sometimes.
Yeah.
And like we just supposed to be like, okay, and then but they're all in on the joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, totally. So Barack Obama did an interview recently where he was talking about how, people think there's a neoliberal cabal.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You need to get out and vote. And
Tom, you're pulling out all of the good voices today.
this is I think Bill Clinton agrees with them. But it's easy to sit back and say that when
Yeah.
you're part of a generation that benefited from
Yeah.
the way like society's structured now.
Yeah.
Whereas like we're just like I feel like if our generation had like a sound effect, it would be
Yeah.
That is very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel just a huge sense of apathy at the moment. Like
Yeah.
that's what I genuinely feel. It's just apathy right now, and just trying to live every day and get the most from it. But what does your generation feel like? Like how do you feel?
I think most of the time they're just scrolling through TikTok, and there's just guys going like doing all kinds of weird things. And all right, next up, and then some news pops up. Okay, cool, that's great. And then all these things are actual tangible things happening, but I don't think people have a sense of what's really the pain or the joy. Yeah, I don't know.
'cause it's either not big enough to worry about, or it's so big we should be.
It's out of their
Yeah.
control.
It's out of their control.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we rioting?
Yeah.
Or are we just gonna order in and watch TikTok?
Yeah, because I also have friends on the other side who are fighting, but they're always fighting. They're kind of restless, and I can see kind of going back to the mask thing. They can get into their little echo chamber and they go all in, and they're not really looking around. And I feel like, oh my god, like that's a bit much. Like I'm glad you're woke or you're awoke. I don't know what's the right word to use for them, but yeah, sometimes I feel they're a bit much as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was on a well, yeah, I was out for dinner with a girl in America.
Quit bragging.
And she was
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
I'm like, okay, dude.
Okay, silent brand there. I was out for dinner with this girl.
Well, you can tell how rarely it happens by the fact that I was like, oh,
All I heard was dinner, girl,
Yeah.
America. Those are the 3 highlights.
yeah, that's the title of the Pornhub video. And she lives in Portland and she got a lot of tattoos, and she was talking about how like, well, you know, I just think white people have like an ingrained violence in them that like guys, we are just a violent, disgusting people, and other people don't have that in them as much, and we need to reconcile that.
Yeah.
And I was like, you should tell Genghis Khan. He'd have been thrilled.
Wow.
He'd have been
Self-loathing
thrilled.
at its finest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to argue with her particularly. Or,
No, yeah.
But I was just like, because I was trying to get laid. But I'm just being silly. I didn't have to try that hard. But
Another humble brag.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, they're getting less humble as they go. But I just thought like it's such an interesting that you can get into such a. So that happened, and then also I was watching the NFL in a bar.
Yep.
And me and my mate we didn't get to watch football together a lot, so it was great. Guy next to us was a Chicago Bears fan, and a guy came in a mask, and he was like, "This goddamn sissy."
Whoa.
And I was like, oh, whatever, it's his choice to do it, whatever. And he was like, well, you wouldn't catch me doing that in a pandemic. Okay. And then he just rattled off a bunch of Trumpy talking points, almost like he was a character in a sitcom.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know, the CDC works for the WHO, works for the Chinese government, who works for what's the guy's? George Soros, who finances the Clintons, who buried a body. The aliens are real.
Yeah.
And you're like, how? And I had
It's
both.
just a black hole. You keep going further down, and it's just
Totally.
There's no hope.
And I guess it was interesting because I had both those conversations within like 3 days
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
of each other.
Yeah, and both of them are equally out of their mind.
Out of their mind.
Yeah,
Both
yeah,
of them are out of their
yeah.
And to the point where like you can't, you want to like shake them or be like,
Yeah.
are you real?
Yeah.
Like, are you just a talking point? Because both of them, one sounded like a Fox News talking point, the other one sounded like a MSNBC
Right.
talking point.
Yeah.
It was wild. And because I remember like watching the news over there, I was saying to somebody like, what do you think's worse, Fox or CNN?
You couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell. Yeah.
Because Fox News is like the guy screaming on the subway, because like at least you know he's crazy, you can avoid him. But CNN is like the guy secretly masturbating on the subway.
Yeah.
Like you don't know he's crazy till it's too late. And by that point you've been watching for an hour.
But honestly, the CNN guys are, I don't know if they're even worse. Yeah, because they pretend to be on the politically correct side, and they're just minting.
I think that's something with comedy. Roman, I don't know if you agree. Like one of the things I think comics will have a real strong sense of is justice.
Right.
Of like what's real, what's fake, what's like, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think that's why at the minute it's so much more tempting to poke fun at the left, even though most of us probably politically are more there.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but most of us are probably more there.
Right.
I mean, I certainly am. But it's easier to make fun of them because at the moment in culture, they're the ones who have the most pomposity and the most artifice.
Yeah, and righteousness. Yeah.
And righteousness, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm old enough to remember what it was like in the early 2000s when it was the religious right, when it was we need to ban Eminem, when we need to like get rid of music videos, and Dick Cheney's wife was like this big mission against bands like Limp Bizkit and stuff, and like so I remember when it was coming from the other side, and I feel like the Iraq War was a big pivot point.
Yeah.
When it sort of went more towards like the left winning culture, but it's the same thing just from another direction.
Yeah. Everybody loves telling others what to do and what not to do. That at the end of the day, we just when we get into a position of power, I think that gives a high.
But I agree. I think the reason that the right gets more of a pass in comedy terms is at least they know what they're. It's like you were saying with the Oklahoma racists.
Yes, they're more aware. Yeah,
yeah. It's like they're aware. They're aware of like what they're doing. And
they're more in touch with their.
yeah. So at least it's like, all right. At least we're being.
Yeah.
I might not like what you're saying or your viewpoint, but at least there's a level of human honesty here.
Yeah.
That is not present in a lot of conversations when people are saying like you can't actually really believe that there's some DNA defect in Caucasian people that makes them homicidal.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not science. That's like astrology.
That actually sounds more like a right-wing person saying,
It does. It's eugenics.
Yeah.
It's basically eugenics.
Yeah.
It's eugenics crossed with astrology.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a Libra. I'm a bit more violent.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a cutie pie. I'm just a bit more violent. You know, my Caucasian rising. I just have homicidal tendencies.
I will take no responsibility for the N-word I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
That being said, namaste.
All right. I think let's get out on that.
Awesome.
Let's get out on Namaste. Ram, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Ram Arangi story. I know it's complicated. I'm just trying to stick to my gut that it's gonna
Catch up.
make the algorithm work, but it's not so far. So if you'd like to support me there, that would be great.
And we're going to post some clips from our British Indian Buddies show, so you guys can check that out as well. This has been another episode of Tom and Jack Having the Crack. We'll have Jack back next week with some more guests. Roman, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Roman.
No
You're the
worries.
best.
It's been a pleasure. Oh, I'm the best. He said I'm the best. Well, he only met me once.
I mean, I'm a Gen Z. It's very easy for me to give a compliment.
Oh, bless. No worries, guys.
Thank you so much.